Okay, now we will learn the recursive CTEs and the problems they solve. Huh? So, first thing, recursive CTE. Like if you look at here first, uh, if you remember, there is a concept called self-join, right? When you join a table with itself, it's called a self-join, right? I hope you remember that. So you basically use the same table two times. In this case, they're using the TBL employee. First time they're giving the alias as employee, and using the same table again, TBL employee, and then second time they're aliasing it as manager. But basically, it's the same table, right? And this is how you join the same table with itself. And what happens here is when you actually join this two table now it will come here, take the employee name, and then come here, take the manager ID, and then take the employee name for that ID, right? And put Josh here and Tom here. Now let's say we want to display their level in the organization. Like for example, number 1 means it's the super boss. Number 2, it means like vice president or something, and so on. Okay.
Yeah.
Like this. So boss, Tom, and then well, the boss is Josh, and then there's Tom, and then Mike, and Tom has this 3 people, and then Mike has these 2 people, and then one person has also this Sam. This is like it's called organizational hierarchy. Huh?
Yeah.
Like every organization most likely will require employee table because they have to keep track of their employees, right? The employees' information.
Yeah.
Imagine like in your organization, there's like 100 employees.
Yeah.
You have to keep track of like what are their names, whose manager is who, and so on, right?
Yeah.
For that, you need to create employee table. And now, with so this is the beginning of the recursive CT. It looks just like any other CT. So you start with the word with, and then give it a name, employees CTE, and then employee ID, name, manager, and so on. And then you say as. Okay. And then you say, you see, there's one extra column that's called level.
Yeah.
This column actually doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because we want to know their level in the organization, we just created that column on the fly. But this column actually doesn't exist. And now what we're saying is select employee ID, name, manager ID, and then 1 for the level. Okay?
Yeah.
Since we don't have the column that's called level, instead of that, we are selecting just 1.
Yeah.
From the employee where manager ID is null. And why we're doing this? Because whoever is the super boss will not have a manager, right? And that's why his manager ID will be null. This means that person is number 1, right? Then we're doing union all. Remember the union all, right? It will just union the 2 results set. And then we're doing our employee manager related table. But instead of joining the table with itself, what we're doing here is select TBL employee ID, employee name, so on and on, from the employee table. And then from the employee's CTE, you see, we're selecting that level, and I'm saying +1.
Yeah.
What we're basically doing is we are referencing the same CTE, you see, within itself. See, usually what would you do is you would reference the CTE after the CTE. You would write the CTE and then say select something from that CTE.
Yeah.
So the first, let's say first quality of the is that you can reference the CTE itself within itself.
Yeah.
That is the first quality for the recursive CTE. Okay. And we are joining this employee table with this CTE itself. You see? TBL employee manager ID equals to employee CTE employee ID. Okay? And after that, what we're doing is select, and then we're saying select employee CTE name as employee, and if it's null, we're saying super boss as manager, and then level. And we're saying from employee CTE, which is the employee CTE, now we're giving an alias to this previous CTE. Now this whole thing becomes an employee CTE, okay? We're doing a left join with like itself, but now we're giving it a manager CTE. Basically, we are doing a self join with this CTE and itself.
Yeah.
Okay. Instead of doing a self join with the table itself, now we're doing a self join with the common table expression. And we're saying on employee CTE manager ID equals to manager CTE employee ID. Okay. This will give us the result that we're looking for, which is the organizational level. I know it looks a little confusing. Let's see that in action. Okay. Now let me see if I have an employee table anywhere. So now first thing, since now we have this employee table, I mean employee hierarchy table, and if you select, we have this, and this null means this person is the super boss because it doesn't have a manager. Okay. Trying to achieve the levels. For that, just like here, we'll start doing the CT. Okay. So first thing I want to tell you is, what we're really trying to do is join the CTE with itself. Right? We are basically trying to do a self join with.
Yeah.
That's when you use the recursive CT. That's when it's called the recursive CT, because you can reference the CTE within itself. Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's create the CTE. Okay.
Yeah.
What we'll say with, let's call it a recursive CT. Okay. And then we need the columns, which are this employee name, ID, and plus the level, right? Yeah. Just like here, you have employee ID, name, and manager ID, and then one more column. See? The column that doesn't actually exist. I am basically specifying what columns I'm using in this CT, just like this. Okay. I'm using employee name, this ID, and then I'm also bringing this column that's called level. This is, it doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
The column doesn't exist, but I'm still bringing it because I have to show the level in some column. Okay. And that will say as, just usual for CTs. And now I'm actually creating the body of the CT. So this part, the first select statement, This is called the seed level. Because we have to start the level from someone, right?
Yeah.
Like you cannot, like if you don't give the starting point, like say if you don't have the super boss in the organization, how are you going to relate other employees, right?
Yeah.
You have to have the highest person in the organization so that you can relate the next people after that person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why this is the seed level. Here you will define the highest person.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Is you say where manager ID is null.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Just like here in our table, this person number 2, whose name is Amy, has a manager ID that's null. This means she doesn't have a manager.
Mm.
The person who doesn't have a manager in the organization is the boss, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else will have a manager.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Except for the boss. Only the boss will not have a manager. That is why for the manager ID, they get null. Everybody else will have someone managing them. Like there is nobody that will be working independently within an organization, right?
Yeah.
They must have a manager unless they are the boss. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So here, this first select statement, with this first select statement, we are defining the starting point. Okay? Starting point. Basically, we are defining the boss in this first select statement.
Mm-hmm.
And how are we defining that? We're just saying where manager ID is null. So wherever the manager ID is null, that means that person doesn't have a manager, and that means that person is the boss. Okay. After that, okay, let's first do this part, and then we'll move on, okay?
Yeah.
So basically, the first thing we're doing is we're saying select, and I will do this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And for level, since we don't have a column that's called level, I put 1 because I have to start from number 1 for boss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whoever is the number 1 is the boss.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say from this table, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So now if I run only this select statement, I should get this Amy with her level being number 1, right?
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
So I'm getting the employee ID, employee name, manager ID is null, and then this that doesn't have a name is saying number 1, but it's saying number 1 for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay? So I need only this row
Yeah.
because not everybody is number 1. Only this person is number 1, right?
Yeah.
That is why I also need to say where manager ID is null, right? So now I get this person.
Yeah.
So now this is the starting point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now I just laid the foundation for my employee hierarchy. So because now I know the manager, I mean the boss, I can just go after the boss. Whoever is after the boss will be the next manager, and whoever after them will be the next and next manager until we reach the end.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's why you have to have this first select statement so that in recursive C, so that you have a starting point.
Yeah.
Okay? And usually this will be the first say row or item within that hierarchical table.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like employee hierarchy. It can be like something as of like cars, for example. The best, but you have to have the starting point. Okay.
Yeah.
And after that, I'm just saying union all. Union all means it will just start unioning the rows from the next select statement.
Yeah.
I hope you remember that. So
Yeah.
now, if I do this, for example, this, I'll get the same result twice because I'm doing a union all. Okay.
But you need the rows, yeah, union.
Yeah, rows from this. So basically, union all will union the rows from 2, 3, whatever number of select statements. Yeah. Okay. It's just a little recap. Yeah. I know you know this, but still I'm doing a recap. Okay. So now, what else do I need now? So now I have the starting point. Now I need the other people who are after this bus, right?
Yeah.
So how do I get those other people now? For that, I'll write a select statement. Okay.
Yeah.
And now what I'm doing is I will basically say select. So I'm using this table, like this above table, right? TBL employee, and joining that TBL employee with this whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. You will understand when we will actually do it. Here we'll get the employee IDs and names from and manager ID from the same table, and only we'll get the level from the CT. Okay. So now is I'm basically doing this, and plus I am doing the level. Okay. And this level column is actually the column of this, because that's what we defined in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And this rest of this columns exist in this CTE, also in this table also, right?
Yeah.
So now what I'm trying to do is basically, well, I already have it. And this will be here, not there. So now what I'm trying to do is, if you look at this, I'm trying to join the same table with this whole CTE itself.
Yeah.
It just needs a little imagination, okay? Just a little, try to imagine like what we're doing here. From employee hierarchy, we'll say E, and then we'll do join. And now this is the employee hierarchy table. I'm trying to join that with this CTE. See?
Yeah.
But it's a little confusing because we are still inside this CTE, right?
Yeah.
But that's what recursive CTE does. Recursive CTE can be joined with itself. Okay, so this is employee ID, getting the employee name, I'm getting the manager ID from that, and from the CTE, I'm getting the level. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm joining it based on the manager ID of the employee table and the employee ID of the CT. Okay? So I'll say E manager ID equals to CTE employee ID. So it's just like here above, if you remember when we joined the cell, I was saying join on manager ID equals to employee ID.
Yeah.
But I was actually joining the same table with itself, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at this, I have this. Let's just for now, forget about this being the same table, but just say this is the E table, this is the M table. We have, let's imagine we have two tables. Basically, what I'm doing is the manager ID table equals to employee ID of the manager table. Okay? We are doing the same thing here. You see? I'm joining that table with the CTE that this table is in.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm joining this table with this whole thing. Okay?
Yeah.
And now, after doing that, if this level must be, okay, let me first show you one thing first. Select everything from this CT, right? I want to show you step by step. As of now, what do we have? Okay. This is what we have now.
Yeah.
You see, basically what I'm doing is I'm doing the same join. I have the employee name and so on and on and on. Okay. And I have the manager ID and so on and on. And for the level, I have only once. This is basically saying everybody is the boss. Okay. So for this to grow, right? For that to grow, if you remember the previous while loop, we were saying set the variable equals to variable plus 1, right?
Yeah.
This is where it's while loop. Basically, for the next person, just for their level, add a 1. That means the boss will be 1, and the next person, whoever is under that boss, will be 2. And now if I execute this, you see? What I'm getting here is Amy is the boss, that's why I'm getting number 1. Jim is after her, that's why he's getting number 2. And these 2 people are number 3s, and then this person is number 4.
Yeah.
This is the hierarchy. And now this already looks okay. Like if you can look at the number and then say who is who, right? Whoever is number 1 is the boss, whoever is number 2 is the after the boss, whoever is number 3 is after, and then so on, right? Now what we need is we have to do it, make it a little more readable. Okay. So to make it more readable, basically what we're doing is we are selecting. Now we're joining this whole thing with itself one more time. Okay. What we're saying is employee CTE, which is this whole thing, and joining the same CTE with itself again. Okay.
Yeah.
Now just imagine we have this as a table. CT is basically a table of the result set, right?
Yeah.
If you remember. So basically what now the only thing is left is do a self join with this table in itself. Just like we did above with the actual table, like right here, right?
Yeah.
We did a self join with this table itself. Now we're doing a self join again with this CT itself. That's why I'll say first select from, and then I take the CT's name. Imagine this is just a table, right?
Yeah.
From this, and I'm saying join, again, the same thing, and then I'm saying on, okay? And then let's say CT, this one will be the employee, CT employee, manager, okay? And then I'm doing a join on just like we were doing above. I'm doing the manager ID of the employee and then employee ID of the manager table, right? So that's what I will do. So because how it's working is I'm basically taking the manager ID of the employees, because that's what I'm doing, right? I'm taking the manager ID from the employees table, okay? And making it equal to the employee IDs of the manager table, because managers are still employees, right?
Yeah.
That's why I'm doing the employee ID. So basically, I'm looking at the managers as employees and then making them manager of the other employees.
Yeah.
Okay? That's why I'm doing the manager ID of the employees equal to employee ID of the managers. Now only thing is left. Well, there will be one more step, but for now, only thing left is I just need to select the necessary columns. That's it, right? So what do I need? I need the employee's name, and I need the manager's name, and then their levels. That's it. Okay? So that's what I will do. Employee name, manager employee name, and also the level of those employees, right?
Yeah.
And level of the employees. Okay. Now, if I execute this, it's something like this. Jim's manager is Amy, and Jim's level is 2. Jack's manager is Jim, and Jack's level is 3, right? So on. But I'm missing the actual boss. I don't have number 1, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm only doing a join.
Yeah.
That's why it's actually joining the same thing with itself, and it's joining on the manager and employee IDs, right? If I if I show you, say, select all from the CT so that you will see, right? This is what I have, right? I'm basically doing the employee ID equal to manager ID, right?
Yeah.
So here, when I'm doing a join, since I have null here, and there's nothing equal to null here, it's not bringing this row at all. That's why I'm missing this level 1.
Yeah.
If I want to bring this row also, to do what?
Select all from.
Hmm?
Bring the row which is
Null.
row. Yeah. We need to do null is a boss.
Yeah, basically what's happening here now is join brings only the matching rows, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I need also the non-matching rows
Left join
from the first table.
from the first
So
table.
instead of that, I'll do a left join, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I execute this, I will get that level also. So Amy level is number 1.
Yeah.
Jim, his boss is Amy, and Jim's level is number 2.
Yeah.
Jack's boss is Jim, and Jack's level is number 3, because Jack is after Amy and Jim, right? Okay. And Casey, his boss is Jack, but his level is number 4, because in organization he's actually after Amy and Jim, and then Jack and John.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why he's number 4. And only thing left now is for this null, I just have to say the boss.
Yeah.
For that, I'll just do null handling, and I'll say here, if it's null, remember the null function.
Yeah.
If it's null, just say the boss. Okay? And we'll also alias as employee name. And this will be the manager name. Level is level. Okay? Now if I execute this, I'll get something like this. See? Amy, she's the boss, that's why she's number one. And she, for her manager, she doesn't have a manager, that's why it says the boss. Jim, his manager is Amy. Jim's level in the organization is number 2. Jack and John, they have the same level, they're number 3s. Probably they work at the same department. And then Casey, he's the smallest person in the organization, so he's number 4. Okay? So this is what you can actually achieve with recursive CTE. The first thing about the recursive CTE is you can actually reference the CTE from within itself. You see, I'm using the CTE from itself. You see, it's actually inside this CTE, but I'm still able to call that CTE from within itself. That is the first and most important aspect of the recursive CTE. Okay? I'll put it here. Okay? And here I'll just say recursive CTE can be referenced by itself. Okay? From within itself. Okay? That's why we're actually referencing the CTE from itself. See?
Yeah. And
the rest will just become like self-join. Instead of self-joining the table, we're self-joining CTE. Okay? Yeah. And this is called seed. Okay? You must start a CTE with this kind of select statement. Okay? You have to have this number 1. Okay? If I remove this now, right? And if I run this now, you'll see what happens. You see? Recursive common table expression CTE doesn't contain a top-level union all operator. So recursive CTE must have top-level union all. Yeah. Top-level union all means this. This is the top level. Yeah. And how is it knowing that this is a recursive CTE? Because I'm referencing the CTE from within itself, okay? Yeah. I'm starting the CTE here using the same CTE within itself. That's why the SQL Server, that's how it knows it's a recursive CTE. Yeah. But then I don't have this, I commented this union all and this seed level. This is the top level, okay? Let me put this also here, seed, or you can call it top level union all, right? So you have to start the recursive CTE with this top level union all. Otherwise it doesn't work, you see? And how do you know if it's a recursive CTE? You know it if you are referencing the CTE itself inside the CTE itself. Yeah. Basically referencing this CTE in itself. That's how you know it's a recursive CTE. Okay? And recursive CTE must have this top level union all or seed. Yeah. Seed means the beginning. Okay? You must have this kind of thing. 1. Okay? This is the seed. Okay? Yeah. It will give you this error. See? Because it's a recursive CT. So now I will uncomment this. Okay? And put something like this. So you know that this number 1 is the seed. Okay? Now it works because I am starting the recursive CT with the seed, okay, and doing the union all, and then so on. And I'm joining it with this, unioning it with this, and then I'm joining it with itself. Side. Okay? I'm basically treating this as a whole different table. Basically, you don't really have to actually do this part. You can already select all from this CT and you will already have the result, right? Because it's already a recursive CT. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4. You already have the levels. But this is done to make it more readable. Okay? So, okay, just a second. Give me 1 minute, okay?